Hello everyone, and we're going to spend the next 60 minutes talking about robotics. Don't know how many of you find that interesting, but let's try to make the next 60 minutes as interesting as possible. Today what we're going to talk about is robotics process automation, RPA as it's known, and its application in the Fintech world, which is the financial technology world. My name is Nishant Verma, and I work for the Royal Bank of Scotland, based out of Gurgaon, India. So before we start, let's try to understand a bit about myself. Who am I? As I told, my name is Nishant Verma. I work in the Risk Solutions Division of the Technologies within RBS, or Royal Bank of Scotland. Robotics in specific has been my interest for the last few months, I would say. You see a picture on the left-hand side of the screen. This is me and my friend Alex. I call him my robo buddy. I hope you don't find a difficulty to differentiate who is Alex and who is Nishant. And I've been trying my hands on robotics in partnership with a few of our RBS partners. A little bit about me on the personal side. You can see my Twitter handle. It's me, Nishant, if you want to connect with me. The RBS Twitter handle is @RBS. From a technical standpoint, I started in the world of black screens. I started coding in C on Unix. I still love to code on C. And for a long duration of my career, I implemented service-oriented architecture and business process management suites across the globe. It gave me an opportunity to travel the world, meet wonderful people around the globe, and also see different banks and their use cases right from the time when Unix job schedulers used to automate till a time today where we have robotics and artificial intelligence coming to help us in automation. My latest passion, as I told you for the last few months, has been in robotics, which has taken me to machine learning. To be very honest, it's a very difficult subject, at least for me, but I'm still trying, and I hope I'll be able to get some level of expertise here. On the personal side, I love dramatics. I'm an ardent lover of drama, theatre, had been an active theatre person for some time during my young life. Also, I'm a trained graphologist. It's also called handwriting analyst. And my passion remains in teaching and imparting whatever I've learned to the rest of the world. Enough about me. Let's try to understand the bank or the company I work for. As I told you, I work for Royal Bank of Scotland, which strongly believes that it's a technology-led bank. Technology is the heart of the bank, and we are building it for 2020, which is not so far away. And our one single motto is to be the #1 bank for customer service, advocacy, and trust. We encourage our people to be curious, experimental, and proactive. At RBS, we live by what gets measured, gets done. So people have performance management objectives around what better, innovative, or creative did they do in the last 90 days. And as a part of my 90-day learning, I picked up machine learning. We at the bank, we invest and modernize our technology and work, and also modernize the work we do by moving to a cloud-based architecture powered by published APIs, which eventually reduces the number of systems and processes we are managing to improve the accuracy of our data and connecting the dots between our data sources so that we can use what we know to add to our value to our business, which eventually helps us to continue to improve our cybersecurity, managing our infrastructure, and which is supported by public and private clouds. So overall, although our heart and bread and butter is banking, we are a very, very technology focused bank. We invest in technology. That's why there is a partnership with HackerEarth. We are the title sponsor of India Hacks 2017, and we are committed for our technology roadmap for 2020. Let's try to understand We are, as we said, talking about an evening in India, but just now, as we are speaking, in some other part of the world, what else is happening in robotics? How is robotics touching lives of human beings? Let's see some use cases. As we are speaking, robots are making dinner. Well, that's not science fiction. There's a company called Robotics, which has recorded the movements of a master chef and has coded it onto an automated arm. This is set to launch in 2017, which is now. It starts with raw ingredients and cooks your meals while you select it from an iTunes style library, which means that in future, which is not so far away, when you're getting out of your office, reaching home, you can actually order what things to be prepared at home, and a robotic hand will prepare the dish as per your choice. Sounds interesting, isn't it? Robots are delivering packages. Again, not a science fiction, not coming from a science fiction movie. There's a London-based Starship Technologies startup, which has recently rolled out a package wherein these small bots, as you see in the picture, which can run at a speed of 4 miles per hour, go ahead and then start, delivering packages and get secured by a password, which is directly sent to the customer where it is being picked from. Robots are also creating prescription eyeglasses. So imagine you walk into a store, you give your prescription, and in 30 minutes sharp, there is a customized frame and lens created for yourself. This is again coming from a company called Jins, which does the same thing which I talked about. Based out of San Francisco, you go, you give the prescription, you choose the frame of your choice, and you leave the store with a new pair. This one is interesting. It caught my eye specifically. So all of us, hopefully a lot of us are coders, we definitely feel a time when we have trouble focusing. We can't sleep. Brain.fm is a company which can create synthesized tracks that are composed by bots, which matches the rhythm which is going in our heads. Now this has actually been used by the US wrestling team to prepare for the Olympics. Robots are even going ahead and starting to analyze your own behavior. Algebra, it's a pepper robot, is using artificial intelligence and IBM Watson to understand gestures and facial expression. So if it finds you in a bad mood, it can actually play your favorite song just to pep you up. Again, a very interesting use case. There are hotels across California which have already adopted Survival. It's a relay, a robot, which shuttles items between front desk and desk. So if you just have forgotten your toothbrush while at home, you can order it and Survival can bring it for you. Again, very interesting. It looks sleek and does the job as good as the bellboy would have done. Well, that was about what's the rest of the world doing. What has the finance tech world been doing? Now, what's the picture you're just gonna see, I believe, is a perception of the financial technology world. Let's see that. While the rest of the world, or most people in the industry, believe that financial organizations like RPA or any other big bank across the globe uses a lot of manual processes, has a lot of reliance on human beings with very less efficiency. There are errors in the process. If we needed to make a change in the process, it takes a lot of time, and it is a very skill set or an SME-based process to complete any transaction. Well, that's the perception, and as you said, perception is the biggest truth, and we need to change that. But what's the reality? I don't think the perception is fair. We also have our share of automation or robotics. Yes, we started from manual execution. We started aiming for getting some automation through scripting. Then came orchestration, the SOA EPL world. Today now we are in the world of autonomics, and we are moving towards the world of cognitive, which is AI and trying to emulate the brain. We are moving ahead, and this is the point where I would like to introduce RPA, Robotics Process Automation. And we're going to spend some time, a few slides, to understand what does this actually mean and how is it different from all the kind of automation we have been doing till now. Now, I'm aware that some of you might be already immersed in this kind of technologies, and this may sound naive, but just for the interest of others, we'll go to the basics and try to understand what is RPA. So I went on the internet and tried to find a standard definition. I got it from whatis.com. What it says is that robotics process automation, RPA, is a use of software with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to handle high volume repeatable tasks. Now, while I agree with this definition of whatis.com, I believe, and this is my personal belief, that this definition has some time to be true. Today, RPA, in my opinion, which is the light blue boxes below, is a software which can emulate human execution of repetitive process. And I will get into details of what does that mean. It is also giving an alternative to the organizations to create virtual workforce and which is controlled directly by business operations teams, and the technology team doesn't become the bottleneck to create this virtual workforce. So what to talk about, we used to talk about onshore and offshore, and this is no shore, which means there are virtual assistants sitting within your own desktops doing the work. This is alongside with your existing infrastructure. So this is the revolution, because to do automation, I don't need to do a big bang, big change of systems across. I can coexist with existing infrastructure, and that existing infrastructure automation is controlled and governed by IT. So IT plays a role to govern and control it. Business operations team come into picture to train what the robots or the bots need to do, and ultimately it emulates human execution. So some of the salient features: RPA becomes your virtual employee. There is no physical robot as Alex, what you saw. You can implement it in a very, very short period of time, in a matter of weeks. It can reuse your existing application. There are no infrastructure level changes which are required, and it documents every step it does. So there is a very proper audit log of what has been done, why it has been done, and what is the impact that step has created. Let's try to understand a little bit more, and we'll go a little bit more in the technical domain as to what RPA is. So somewhere I read this phrase of automation of automation, which stuck to my head, and I think it very well defines what RPA is. So till now, a human user comes to an office in the morning and does a series of steps on the desktop to create a transaction. It presses a lot of buttons, and RPA is beyond pressing that button. It's an automation of automation. So it operates at the front end of an application. It doesn't go at the server level. In fact, it works at the client level. And in general, RPA will automate automations such that it drives existing enterprise applications in the same way as a human user does. So it just emulates a particular user who comes and does a series of steps. So let me take an example. For example, if my user comes in the morning, checks his or her email, there is an email which is coming which has some data in a CSV file. It saves that CSV file onto a drive. Then opens that file to copy some data, pastes it into another application through a thin client, creates a report out of it, and then uploads it via a thick client for another application. Now, what RPA does, it sits on the desktop and emulates the mouse clicks and the keyboard strokes exactly as the user would have done. Of course, much faster, error-free. So if you see at the left-hand side, you see how humans are working, wherein on their desktops, their existing operational staff is working using their desktops to talk to the core IT systems below. Whereas in the RPA world, where you have a virtual workforce, there's an app server kind of becomes the team lead, and the database where all the knowledge is stored. Now, human workers have subjective reasoning. They can take an action action 1 on a particular scenario, and on the same scenario they can take an action 2 depending on the level of knowledge, mood, or their expertise level. But in RPA, it will be doing exactly the same thing as instructed. So RPA will also work on the same desktops and laptops as the existing operational staff or the human staff would do. Just that these desktops, the green desktop which you're seeing on the right, is also having an implementation of a RPA software sitting on it. And the mouse clicks and keyboard strokes are done by that software instead of a human interface doing it. They still interact with the core IT systems exactly the same way as the human interface would have done. Now, what does this give us? It gives us more operational control, and with using their subject matter expertise, which will eventually create a virtual workforce to help them. I don't know how clear it became, so maybe bringing another view to show what does a little more deep dive would give you. So if you see on the screen in the center, there is a human user which is using his or her own desktop, is doing monitoring, it is talking to multiple applications, it is querying databases, it is using some tools, it is using some utilities, it is cutting, copying, pasting some text from one application to another. It is opening its emails, going through the attachments, reading the emails, taking action based on what has come in the email, working on spreadsheets, access database, and so on and so forth. So RPA can operate like a human. It can log in using a user ID password. It can click on a button. It can select item. It can type text, cuts, copies data across files, etc. Now, how does that work? So people who would have worked on the modeling tools like rational rows, etc., would know that this kind of mappings are done through an object level automation, or even people who have worked on Selenium would probably be able to, map what I'm trying to say. So it uses object level automation where application objects are mapped. Now there are some places or some technologies in which object level mapping is not possible. Mostly in the area when you're working on mainframes or SaaS. So there is a possibility there too. There we have surface automation, in which a particular area of your computer screen is used as an image, and there is an image recognition algorithm which will help the software, RPA software, to navigate through the application. So again, understand, if it is sitting on the desktop, there is no complex integration or disruptive development is required. Which means that you can leave these applications in the state they are and just stitch them with each other using an RPA. The only requirement you have is your desktop connectivity to the system and applications exactly in the same way as your human user would have required. From an access perspective, it doesn't need to go and sit on your servers. It requires to have the same level of access as a human user. For example, it doesn't require any root access. It requires the same kind of application user access as a human user. Now, actions taken are also depending on the outputs which the applications are giving or the exceptions which are given. And this decision of what actions to be taken is based on a set of business rules which are pre-configured. Now, because it's driven by the business rules, it will keep taking the same decision every time the same scenario comes up. And just in case your business rules are not self-sufficient or the bot is not able to understand what next to do, it will escalate you by various communication channels telling you that the transactions are incomplete. Well, this is where we are, and let's try to understand how did we get here and what's in store for future. So, if you see on this small flow chart, I have taken the same chevrons which I talked about when I started introducing RPA, that we started with manual execution. we went to scripting, orchestration, autonomics, and cognitive. Now, in today's world, where do we see the use of a manual execution? Is only if the activities are non-repeatable and one-off. And that's where you'll require manual labor. Now you start automating it by writing simple scripts, a shell script as basic as it could be. You start getting some labor efficiencies there. Now, what kind of activities will you go and automate through a script? Those are linear. It has to be standard and repeatable. You should be able to define it very, very precisely. And then comes the world of orchestration, wherein you have a lot of branches and decisions to be taken in a typical service-oriented architecture or a business process execution language kind of a scenario. The activities are orchestrated. The activities will be complex. Again, they have to be very, very standard. And there are multiple scripts which sit behind the orchestration engine to help you complete the transaction. Now, the target state is where we are trying to get autonomous, in which the processes are dynamic, in which, what does that mean? It means that as per the market conditions, as per what we see in terms of the need of the hour, the processes will keep changing. They will be non-standard. They will be contextual. So what works in a particular geography may not work in some other geography. Or what works for a particular type of a customer may not work for another type of customer. Exactly the same decisions what humans take on a day-to-day basis, the autonomous software has to start taking. It has to interfere in between with the so-called quote-unquote standard steps. Now this is where the machine observation comes into picture. And this is where moving from labor efficiencies, we get into labor elimination, where we start reducing our reliance on human labor. And what's in future? It's cognitive, which means the systems become self-aware. They start predicting what needs to be done. They start learning from mistakes as well as from new data. They start healing themselves based on previous failures. And that's where the future is taken. But mind it, this future is not so far away. You're probably talking about the next 2 to 5 years at max, where we will see this large scale deployments of such. And if you start classifying this kind of automation, they come into 3 classes. One is the basic process automation of scripting. Second is enhanced process automation of a little bit of unstructured data and base knowledge. And class 3 is what we are talking about of RPA, machine learning, and cognitive, wherein we are talking about adaptive alteration, natural language processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, large-scale processing, etc. Good. So coming back to our fintech world, where we saw a big flowchart with a lot of reliance on SMEs, human beings, what's happening and how is this automation being adopted in the fintech world? So I tried to do a lot of research. I did not get a 2017 data, but I did get a 2016 data from PwC. And I saw what was the history. They started in 2016 with some kind of a buzz on RPA to start having the idea to incorporate digital labor. Now it started to be used as a technology solution rather than a staffing initiative. So people started using RPA for automation rather than trying to find a alternative for human labor. And what kind of use case? They wanted to automate the existing work. They wanted to take up use cases where legacy systems do not talk to each other. Typical regulatory requirements like reporting, reconciliation, data remediation, RPA was started to be used on that. But they were not scaling up. For most of them, it was early days. There were many prototypes, but not large-scale deployments. And a lot of them had to still realize the CBA. Well, I don't have the data, but given my experience with a few banks across the globe, the situation has changed a lot. There are large-scale deployments already. People have realized the CVAs, and definitely it's not early days. If you talk about statistics, PwC conducted this uh, analysis or a survey and asked the banks to what extent your organization is currently implementing digital labor or RPA. In 2016, 4% had not started, 22% had started only exploring, 57% had implementations with a few prototypes, 13% had started the adoption but they didn't complete, and only 4% had a widespread adoption. Well, again, my guess is that today the first two bubbles will have zero. Only in the last three bubbles we will have numbers, because I am sure today every large or medium-sized bank or financial organization has moved on to start exploring RPA because they have no choice than to do it with the cost increasing. So again, future looks very, very promising for this technology. Let's try to also understand the basic traits of this banking era and why RPA is so important for banking. So as people who would have been following a lot of news would see that the mergers and demergers in the financial world is very, very frequent, which means processes have to be changed at a click of or a blink of an eye, because mergers have happened. If two banks do merge, their processes have to merge. If there's a demerger, again the processes have to be cut off, and there is no practical way to keep running huge projects with throwing multi-million-dollar projects to start separating processes and applications. And that's where RPA comes into the picture, where you can just train the bot to start doing a new process the next day. There's a very heavy reliance on files and legacy systems. The world has moved on. We have done a lot of automation, but still our banking industry loves the files and the way to exchange data between applications. So you need to copy files, you need to take data from files, you need to transfer files from one place to another. And again, this is where the RPA comes into picture, where it would do the same thing as a human would do without much investment. Multiple systems are involved in one customer journey. So let's take an example of a loans process. When me or you go to a particular bank to ask for a loan, let's say a home loan, you start showing your interest, you start putting your origination, then our data is validated, KYC is done, so validation happens. Then there's a line assignment, somebody assigns how much credit limit do I have, then a credit officer actually sanctions it with an underwriter. Then there are disbursements happening, so actually the money would get credited in my account, and then I will pay through a tenure of EMIs. So servicing would happen, and finally closing. Unfortunately, most of the banks will not have a single application doing all of this. There will be multiple, and in this scenario, at least there will be 3 or 4. Now, if I look from a customer point of view, the process remains the same from end to end, and that's where again RPA comes into picture, where it can stitch all of these applications into one customer journey. Again, there's a lot of reliance on data and specific people, which we call as SME. Again, there are people who are sitting doing the same job for 20 years, 30 years, and there's a lot of reliance on their knowledge to run an application or run a process. Again, all of that can be coded with bots. And RPA can emulate human user it can emulate the user steps to automatically process transactions at a much faster speed. And now let's see some of the numbers in terms of comparison. For onshore labor, what does RPA mean? What does it mean for offshore labor? So for onshore labor, it's productivity improvement. So now you can have 100% accuracy because a bot is doing whatever a human was doing. It doesn't have any fatigue, doesn't take coffee breaks, doesn't have mood swings, doesn't need a hike. So it goes with 100% accuracy. Scalability. You can have hundreds and thousands of robots to do different work 24/7. It is as fresh as 8 a.m. in the morning as Friday 6 p.m. From an operational efficiency for an offshore labor, it improves the process process quality, speed, governance, security, and continuity, because again there is zero reliance on human labor and availability of people in a particular time zone to do the thing. The operations are optimized, so you keep gathering the data, how things are working, and keep optimizing your operations. From a regulatory compliance perspective, you are 100% in compliance because you're doing as per the regulations, step by step, every transaction, every time. There is at least a 35 to 60% reduction in the onshore process and 10 to 30% reduction from an offshore process. From a break-even point, it's a very, very quick break-even, as early as 6 to 9 months. And from a cost perspective, it's 1/3 of a price of an onshore FD and 1/5 the price of an offshore FD. So cost is great, very quick break-even, and 100% accuracy. So no reason why we should go towards this area. Let's see some of the potential fintech use cases for RPA. So there are huge. I will just maybe talk about account origination, and I will just share one use case on account origination that for a big bank based out of the UK. From the time they implemented RPA for account origination, they could see a 20% increase in their conversion of from account interest to an account opening, as well as the number of transactions now they can perform. It costs them much lesser because the same team of X number of people now can do it, is dealing with 30 to 50% more transactions on a day-to-day basis. Similarly, as simple as employee onboarding and offboarding, very step series and structured set of processes. Again, RPA is giving a fantastic first day experience for employees. And now that's not very specific to fintech, but it can be used across the industry to do that. Now, also some of the maintenance process, like data cleansing. Somebody has to keep data cleansing at some frequency. Bots are doing it. Again, there is no chance of people forgetting it. There is no chance of requiring to do server level access, etc. So again, there are so many use cases, and we can keep talking about it. But the idea is, this is just some of the potential processes. But this is just also scratching the surface. The possibilities are immense. Getting into details of, okay, we talked about RPA, which companies or which software gets RPA. So I got this data from Forrester as of, and this is the Q1 2017 data in terms of who are the market leaders in RPA software. And as you see, in the innermost circle, which is the leader circle, there are 3 names: Automation Anywhere, Good Prism, and UiPath. Again, this is a very, very dynamic place where these bubbles will keep changing their places and new bubbles will keep coming in. So if you are looking to implement RPA within your own organization, you can use this as a reference, but also do a prototype to see what fits best for yourself. So this was the market data, which talking about. Now let's talk a little bit about what I say is the next level of RPA, or the future of RPA. Again, not so far away, maybe 2 years or so. Cognitive RPA, which is leading to artificial intelligence. And the way I see it is taking the robot out of the human. So basically what we are saying, till now robotics was to emulate human body parts like hands, fingers. So while the RoboChef was cooking, it was emulating hands, fingers for keyboards and mouse. But with cognitive RPA, it is now trying to emulate the brain. So it is taking the robot out of the human. So with cognitive RPA, bots learn from experience in the same way as humans do, in order to perform complex tasks without human interference. So in this case, now bots are learning from their experiences. Bots are learning from the success and failures not only made by them but by their fellow bots. So if one bot is making a mistake and we correct it, all the other bots can learn from it, which typically doesn't happen in the human world. We have to do our own mistakes to make a lesson, and sometimes even our own mistakes do not do us a good lesson. So that's the power of cognitive RPA. In terms of the technologies being used, machine learning, voice recognition, and natural language processing are few technologies which is being used for cognitive RPA. And if you talk about what is it, so it's autonomous decision making. It can reason, it can remember, it can find out new insights on data discovery, so it can learn by itself. So there's a personal and interactive support, so there's a lot of engagement among the robots. There's a data-driven insight or insight-driven knowledge which is being used. And some of the use cases are industry-specific virtual assistants, cognitive bias assistants. For example, Alex, what you saw, in future you might walk into a retail bank like an HDFC or an ICICI and you may not find any humans. You may some of these bots who are moving around, you can have a conversation in normal, natural English and maybe Hindi tomorrow, and they can answer all your questions. They can perform transactions for you, and just with the same or a much better level of customer satisfaction. Let's see, in banking, where will this be used? AML pattern detection, which is the anti-money laundering pattern detection. So criminals are getting smarter and smarter of ways to launder money for all kind of nasty stuff. So when you put the power of machine learning, deep learning, and AI to start thinking like a human being to detect what kind of money laundering activities are being used, it is being used for this AML pattern detection. Chatbots, a very common use case. Most of the times when we are chatting for any financial organization, there is a big chance that you're talking to a bot. Bot can also recommend you products based on your spend, based on people like you. We have something called a KNN or a nearest neighbor model, in which not only your experience of life, but also the spend pattern and the experience of life of people like you. The computer has a capability to find which other people like you. It can recommend the right product for you, and which will be beneficial for you as well as for the bank. Algorithm trading in the area of investment banking, there are a lot of algorithm trading happening. There are patterns being defined, and AI is trying to even define patterns on itself to find out which stocks to buy, hold, or sell. And fraud detection in the last is again very interesting use case. New ways of frauds are happening. I can just share one story. When I used to work for a card company, there was a particular person who got a credit card which had a limit of $200. He kept spending very well within the limit and kept paying it so that his credit score went better and better. And when the credit limit was around $20,000, there was one single swipe of $17,000, and the moment he got that money, the guy just got vanished. Well, 20,000, since his limit was 20,000 and 70,000 was swiped, it was a valid transaction. But what the system could not find out that the pattern of his spend was not as per his habit, and there should have been an interjection. And that kind of frauds can again be stopped through AI. So that brings me to the end. If I sum it up, RPA, everyone is trying it, including RBS. It started as an automation technology, and today it's looked as a virtual workforce. It emulates the human, removing to need to run integration projects, very quick deployment, quick ROI. Fintechs are using it both for internal and external processes, and AI, the next step to RPA, self-learning and self-healing. Cool. So that brings to me end. Hopefully the presentation was informative for you to start at least, if not much, tickling your brains towards what kind of possibilities are there for your own organizations, and possibly it also give you an idea of what kind of work we are doing within RPS through that. So I'll go to questions and see if there are any. So there's a question by Courier that if a machine is interacting with a server, then why should it do exactly the same way as a human is doing? Now, you're absolutely correct, Courier, that you can always make it better. However, as the first step, you might just like to emulate it. But if you have ideas of how it can do it better, you can train your bot to do that. Okay. So now this green. How often do we audit an RPA system? Well, as I showed you in one of the slides, there is a application server which consistently keeps auditing each of the bots and keeps sending reports as per the frequency which you have decided to your administrator. So it's constantly audited and the reports are being sent. Based on the audit, you can definitely go ahead and change the configuration. Amit asked that how RPA fits in the testing world. Well, Amit, in the testing world, I have seen use cases where RPA or robotics is going towards scriptless test automation, which means that it goes and with AI coming, it goes and finds out what kind of test regressions you need to find out based on the earlier test cases and the test data and the failures which have happened in production. So with that kind of a deep learning, you're able to find out if there is a right set of test cases you have or not. So there's a question saying, asked that banking officer deals with an anomaly on a daily basis. Does an automated assistant deal with anomalies as well as a human does? Yes, it does. And in the current world, what will happen? These anomalies will be escalated to a particular, administrator. But in the AI world, it will keep trying to find out anomalies which another bot would have dealt through, and will learn from experience of others and try to deal with then and there. There also, if none of the bots have come up with a particular use case, it will be driven to a human user to go ahead and give an answer or take a particular action. Okay, then. So any recommendation for getting started with RPA? I would say definitely you can have a trial with any one of the market leaders, as I showed you with Forrester, and identify a particular process within your organization which you think will be a good candidate. And a good candidate would be a process which will let you, reduce your manual effort and improve your accuracy, and try out as we tried out with a few of these market leaders and saw the kind of benefits which are getting. Gaurav Sinha says that, can you talk more about your use case in RPS where it has been implemented in the risk area? Does your use case do more than data capture? Is it purely data capture case enabled by RPA? So Gaurav, in RPS, what we did with RPA, specifically for risk, that for risk there is a lot of regulatory reports which we need to send on a weekly, monthly and yearly basis. And for these regulatory reports there is no standard application. So we need to actually get data from multiple applications, and some data comes directly from the market over emails. Then we need to use this data to run a lot of Access and Excel based models, then churn the data into a SAS engine, and then finally create a report, put it on a PPT and send it to the regulators. This was a particular process which is automated. Now there were 70 people doing it, and just 10 bots are able to do the same thing with the same amount of accuracy. Rajesh asks, how much does it cost to conduct a POC? Well, it depends on which company you have chosen for the RPA evaluation, what kind of relationship you have with the company, because most of the cost goes in getting the trial license. So if you have a good relationship and the company is ready to give you the trial license for some time at a nominal cost of free, then you're talking about typically 3 to 4 weeks of an effort. I think I answered all the questions. If there are more questions, you can type in. If not, hopefully this was helpful for all of you, and if you need to still interact with me, you can connect with me on Twitter. My ID is @Nishant, and it was great to speaking to all of you. Thank you so much.